Hello and welcome to a look at Wings Remastered for the PC. Playing the Amiga version in the video series I'm doing, I was getting a bit frustrated because of various different aspects of the Amiga version. But I remembered that this version existed, so I graciously managed to raise the funds in order to obtain the remastered version of Wings, and the intention was to play up to the point I am in the Amiga series and then take over with Wings Remastered. I was vaguely familiar with the game before I bought it. Of course, I'm quite familiar with the original Wings, but I was somewhat aware of the existence of this version, but not didn't have any personal experience before I bought it. The first thing you notice is that Colonel Farah is about 20 years younger in the remaster than he is in the Amiga version, but details, it's not important. Instead of doing one mission in order to qualify for your Wings, you have to do all three, and that is basically because it's your tutorial. So far, so good. Then we get to join the squadron after that, and one thing that was added to the remaster was voice-over. Not voice acting, I want to emphasize that, but the flight journal entries and the before mission text is narrated, and I will allow you to listen to the first narration of both the journal and the pre-flight text, and then I will skip through the rest of them. So, joining the squadron, hooray! Anyway, I'll shut up for now.
Finally arrived at Luxel. Couldn't ask for better quarters. Apparently this place was a spa for King Louis XV. All around us, fruit trees blossom on grassy slopes covered by blue and yellow flowers. In the distance, I can see the snow-capped Vosges Mountains, their flanks bristling with a solid mass of giant pines. It's 5 AM and I'm scared as hell. In less than an hour, I'll be flying my first patrol to the front. Just imagining what it'll be like kept me up all night. Now I wish I'd got some sleep. My partner and I took off into a ghostly sunrise. The gnawing in my gut told me we'd soon find the Hun. Sure enough, after a nagging lull, we found a pair of worthy opponents below us. They were close enough to touch.
So, we enter our first dogfight mission, and you will probably notice that there are a certain amount of graphic upgrades if you compare to the Amiga version, which of course you would expect from a game that's made about 25 years after the original, just short of this game was released in 2014. The remasters thing we will choose in the Amiga version's setup, meaning that you have the plane view, it wobbles a bit more than it did in the Amiga version, and of course the pilot is looking around towards the closest target. Unlike in the Amiga version, he will look towards balloons, but only if there are no more enemy planes. The landscape looks completely out of whack. It's too clean looking compared to what they're trying to do with the rest of the game, and for me, it just feels like it doesn't belong with the dogfighting. It feels like it's almost watercolors compared to the nitty-gritty dogfighting graphics, and Yeah, maybe it's just me, but I could not take the landscapes serious, even though it's a lot more detailed, obviously, than the Amiga versions. But it's just it it's too clean. It's too nice looking. There's no sense of semi-realistic landscape in any way, shape, or form, whereas some sort of semi-realism has been tried to be achieved with other graphics. Something that you will notice very quickly when you are playing this game is how much easier it is than the Amiga version. Enemy planes get shot down incredibly quickly, and that applies to you if they all turn their guns on you. Later on in the game, if you have a rookie pilot, even you will find that your plane gets knocked out of the sky very, very quickly. This sequence where in the Amiga version you had to pull your joystick left, you don't. You can just press fire button to skip the sequence. Doesn't do anything. But anyway, the fact that everything gets shut down a lot quicker means, of course, that the missions don't have the incredibly annoying aspect that the Amiga version has, where you can have a plane flying away from you and just keep flying away from you, and you chase it for 8 minutes, which is always good fun. Your allies are interesting. They can fly faster than you, and they always fly together. Sometimes they do something, and sometimes they don't. It feels very, very hit and miss. But one thing that makes them rather scary is the fact that you do not exist in the game world for your allies. Playing halfway through the game, I have encountered more than once that not only if you have a target in front of you, you have a friendly plane behind you, he will shoot through you in order to hit the target. But thankfully they're not doing any damage. But that means that you have a friend right on your tail. And if you don't change direction and the game decides that he's moving faster than you, he's going to try and occupy the same space of air that you are, and you can imagine how that's going to turn out. Playing up to the point where I left off with the Amiga version, in this game I reloaded 6 times in total. 1 time because I got shot down, 5 times because I got flown down by friends. Yeah. Is something to be very much aware of, and something that there's no avoidance program for your friends. They are as much a threat to you, if not a bigger threat to you, than your enemies, because at least they're just shooting at you and not flying through you. They do sometimes, but it could have been a lot worse. By the way, my engine's gone, so I can only move very, very little from side to side, and I have 2 allies around and 1 enemy plane, and the enemy plane still manages to line up perfectly behind me and finish me off. So, time for a new clone. Yeah, I had to look behind to see him line up perfectly. There he comes, and the 2 planes are not doing anything to shoot at him. Lovely, lovely, lovely. That minor thing. In the Amiga version you can get shot down, and depending on your stamina, as long as you don't smack face first into the ground, you can potentially survive it. There's no such thing in this game. You get shot down, you're dead. If you get shot down to the point where you get knocked down to the point where your engine is flaming and you land, you can get away with it, but any crashes of any kind, I suppose it is realistic enough, but this is an arcadey game, it is not a realistic game, so they could have kept that little part in. The strafing and bombing missions are significantly easier to a certain point than the Amiga version. The strafing missions, when you have heavy anti-aircraft fire against you, they shoot at you, which means that you can evade the shots significantly easier than you can in the Amiga version, because of course they are shooting in a fixed spot, and if you happen to be in that spot, you get knocked out of the sky. So avoiding taking damage in the remaster is definitely a lot easier. But because of a stupid oversight, I will hope it is another planned mechanic. If you have a primary target, you go for your primary target. You can try and go for secondaries, but first and foremost, the game can be extremely sensitive towards your qualifying for completing a primary objective, and secondly, the fact if you fly forwards and shooty, you're going to walk your shots, as you would expect. But if you fly backwards, your bullets are going to end up in the same location from where you start moving backwards, until you take a break in your shooting and realign your guns, so to speak. Oh, by the way, the journal is bugged as well. If it's got more than one page, the second page is zoomed in and looks stupid. But anyway, that makes, in the case of strafing missions, obnoxiously annoying to try and get secondaries. Once you get used to having to stop shooting and then move your plane and then engage your guns, then I suppose that's fine enough, but it shouldn't be the case. The bombing missions, the bombs you drop will fall depending on what side of the wing you're dropping them from. So if you're dropping them from the right side or the right wing, they will tend to drop in a right side path, so to speak, and dropping from the left wing will have a similar thing. So you can and should use your plane's shadow to guide. If you drop a bomb where your shadow is, that should be where the bomb lands. So, of course, in the Amiga version, you drop the bomb directly below you. The AA fire in the remastered bombing missions is not as dangerous as it is in the Amiga version, because, again, they're shooting at you. In the Amiga version, the AA guns are definitely trying to box you in, but you don't get that kind of stuff in the remaster. And something that applies to both the bombing and strafing missions is if you get hit, well, I suppose you get hit. You can probably get hit again, and you can probably get hit 2 times more. I have been hit by 5 anti-aircraft guns in one bombing mission and was still able to fly on. Of course, in the Amiga version, you get hit once, and the same goes for heavy anti-aircraft fire in the strafing missions. So again, it's significantly easier. You have 4 skills: shooting ability, mechanical ability, stamina, and flying ability. Stamina, how long or how much damage you can sustain before you are shut down. Shooting ability, how accurate your guns are, or how much damage they're doing and how far they're reaching. That only applies to aerial combat, by the way. Mechanical, how quickly you unjam your guns when they jam, and they actually show that the gun barrels are overheating, they turn red, so you can see if they're about to jam. But it doesn't take a lot when you just start the game, so it's something to be mindful of. And of course, flying ability is how fast you can fly, how quickly you can turn, all that kind of stuff. Having played halfway through the game and having maxed all stats, I can tell you that I have not felt much difference in flying ability. Stamina definitely, and shooting ability. You take down planes even faster than you do earlier on in the game, but yeah. The ranks become extremely quick compared to the Amiga version. It took me 67 missions, it took me 67 missions to reach Lieutenant Colonel, which of course is the highest rank you can attain in Wings, because, well, your commanding officer is a colonel, and you can't equal or bypass him in rank. I'm also fairly sure that Lieutenant Colonel would be the highest active service rank allowed. So, anyway, 67 missions. Yeah, I took up promoted twice in a row on 2 different missions. The technical aspect, the graphics are updated and they should be based on the fact that it was made about 25 years after the original. The in-aerial dogfight graphics are mixed bag. The playing combat itself seems fine and dandy, but the backgrounds, as I've mentioned before, I can't put to words what it is, but it's like it's a watercolor cartoony landscape with the nitty-gritty planes dogfighting above. It just feels off. The other mission types, graphics are again updated and you are a bit more wobbly and it feels a bit more floaty, but floaty can be a bad thing as well. Sometimes it does feel a bit wobbly, but I have no complaints about the missions themselves, except the fact that I mentioned that you can walk your guns forward but not backwards. And of course the fact that you can take excessive amounts of damage and still fly. Still be flying even. The sound design is okay. The sound effects are acceptable. I wouldn't necessarily say they're amazing. They could have been a lot more meaty. Such a nice word when it comes to sound. Could have had a lot more oomph. They're satisfying, but acceptable, but not satisfying is what I meant to say. The music is a rendition of the Amiga's original soundtrack, and you can actually choose to play the original Amiga soundtrack instead, and if you have the bias to do so, you will likely find that it is essentially more enjoyable than the remastered music. And that's actually not a knock against the remaster, because it's possibly been done out of respect for the original music, not to change too much. Voiceover, journal entries and pre-flight text is nice, but it's a voice-over, not voice acting. You don't get a sense of being a pilot thinking out loud while filling in the flight journal. You get a sense of someone reading up text from a script page. The voice itself is nice, but the emotional depth is about equal to a doormat. So, anyway, if you are completely and utterly unfamiliar with Wings and want a shooty action game set in World War I, you might want to get hold of this game, even though I'm not keen on the asking price. But if you are familiar with the Amiga version and have played it to some extent, maybe even completed it, there's no new experience to be had in this. It's playing exactly the same game, faster paced in progression, but slower paced in general, significantly easier, and it has some incredibly annoying niggly bits that wasn't ironed out even, that should have been ironed out. The current asking price on Steam is $12.99, and I think that's too much. Considering the fact that there's so many games on sale on Steam constantly, and you can get far better, far bigger, and far more exciting games when they're discounted at a lower price than this one, I find it very, very hard to recommend. Had it been $7.99, I might have been more willing to recommend it, but for those who have already played the original and played the original, even at that price range, it would be a hard sell. As a remaster, it has captured the essence of Wings, but not the soul of Wings. As a standalone title, it would have been okay, but for me personally, compared to the version that it is a remaster of, despite its nuisances, technical limitations and all that kind of stuff, I honestly don't think the remaster is a better game. Especially not at £12.99. I will put a link to the Steam page in case you should be interested, but not much else to say except for thanks for watching, take care, see you next time, bye bye for now.